Hello, my name is Stephanie from Découvert and welcome to my Christmas Topiary Lantern tutorial. This gorgeous topiary is created almost entirely out of paper. I used an LED light puck to illuminate it and it cycles through a rainbow of colors. It just sparkles at night. There are numerous ways to customize this project to suit your Christmas decor. Experiment with different colors and trims, let your creativity shine. Don't forget to check out my Peony Topiary Lantern project too and other fun paper crafts, all in SVG format, at www.decouvert.com. So without further ado, let's get Christmas crafting! Okay, so here I have my poinsettia leaf and my holly leaf, and what I did first is I went ahead and I inked the edges. We're using this, this is Memento Ink Teal Zeal, it's sort of a bluey color. And I just went in with my dauber, I just loaded it up, and again I was using a plastic surface, and I just went around doing this circular motion around the edges, okay, and just loaded it up and maybe take some of the ink off, and then go in like so. Okay, and I did it to both sides on the holly leaf. With the poinsettia, I just did it again in the same fashion. I just did it to the front. Okay, and then what I did is I took my ball tool, and like we did before, I went ahead and did the veining. Okay, and I was using my trusty mouse pad for that, and I also did some veining to the holly leaf as well. Okay, so I just went up the middle, and then I went off to the little points here. Okay, so go ahead and do that to all of your leaves, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my poinsettia leaves, and I just wanted to go over with you a few more ways of shaping these leaves. Now what you can do is you can fold them in half. You could take your dowel and just have it folding in half but then turned out like so, you see? All right, this one's a bit overworked right now because I've been doing it for demo, but you get the idea. Then you can sort of pinch this edge, and then maybe on the diagonal you could turn this like so, okay, like that, and have this one pinched like this, and have it kind of go like that, you know, like that. And then you can take maybe your smaller dowel, your skinnier dowel, and again you're going to kind of turn these edges, you know, maybe this one going that way, like we were doing before, right? Something like that. You could maybe do kind of a an S sort of shape. Maybe do this here, right? And then keep that pinched, sort of thing, right? So just play around with it. Take a look at leaves, pictures of leaves as reference, and just try to make them all a little bit different. Okay, but yeah, just play around. You know, I got them kind of all doing kind of different things, but play around with them and finish those, then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my holly leaf, and what I did is I folded along that score line we created earlier, and then what I did is I measured about 1.5 inches from this tip to here, okay, and I just sort of marked that off with my stylus, and basically then I drew a line from about, this would be about between a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch at the bottom here, and then down to nothing where I marked that that placement there at the 1.5 inch mark here. So, and then I just sort of push down here, made that indent so that it'd be easier to fold. So that's what we're going to do next, is that you're going to be folding along that score line you just made, like so. Okay, you see? And then you'll cut yourself a length of 22 gauge wire, green wire, about 5 inches long, and you'll put a glue on 1 inch on that tip there. And you'll take that and you'll place it, you'll tuck it in that little fold, like so. Okay, and let it dry, hold on to it, let it dry, and then you'll open it up. Okay, like so. Right, so it's sort of hidden underneath that little fold there, see? Like that. Okay, so go ahead and do that to all of your holly leaves, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have my leaf, my holly leaf, and I've got the wire in place. So what I did is I added some sheen to it. I used a Mod Podge gloss. This, again, this is optional, you don't have to do this. And I just took my paintbrush, I just put a little bit on, nice little layer on there, and I just sort of stuck it in a piece of foam, or you could put it in a jar and let them all dry. And you'll end up with this sort of sheen. Okay. And then once it's dry, you can start to sort of shape these, right? Like we were doing before. You know, you can start to pinch the tips. You can twist them. You can use your dowel or your fingers. You could do kind of a diagonal turn and then lift these little points up and pinch them. Okay, so play around with it. Give each one its own little character. And then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm creating the berries. So what I did is I cut a length of wire about 2 inches long, and then I took my round nose pliers and I made the tiniest of little loops here, okay, if you can see. And I tried to sort of flatten it out a little bit more with my flat nose, okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get your bead. It should be about 3/8 diameter bead. And just get it ready and get your hot glue gun. And what you're going to do is you're just going to add a little bit of hot glue here, okay, not too much, and just run that bead up right to about here. And you're going to leave a little bit of that loop that you made showing, okay? So just leave a little bit like that showing. Now, if you don't have red beads, then once this is dry, what you're going to do is you can paint it. I used a red glossy, this is Liquitex Glossies. This is a sort of a glass paint, enamel paint, or you could use nail polish. And actually this works quite well. I just didn't like the color, but if you have a nice red berry nail polish, you can use that. And I just stuck this into a cork or a piece of foam and let them all dry. Okay, and once again, when you do put in that hot glue, you might have some spewing out the top here. So try to kind of get that off before it dries completely, okay? So go ahead and do that for all your berries, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, here I have my holly leaves, and what I've done is I've wired them together. I started off with 2, got them to kind of this position, and then I brought in the 3rd one. Now I bent the leaves kind of, you know, like so. You can see it at almost a little 90-degree angle, or just about. And then I took the berries, I put 3 berries together and wrapped them together, and also gave them a little bit of a bend. And then you can kind of put them together like so. Okay, and just kind of fix them a bit. And then you're going to take your florist tape and get it on there with your finger here. See, I'm just kind of, okay, and then start turning. You're going down on the diagonal, okay? You might want to kind of pull this out because that's where the adhesive is. So as you kind of pull it out, you can access that adhesive, and you'll just go again on the diagonal all the way down, okay? Down to the end of your stem here, like this. Pulling very tight and twisting, going around and around and around, like so. See? Excuse my inky fingers. Anyway, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I've just been inking my little sprigs, little branches, and what I've been doing is I'm using the Memento ink again, the Teal Zeal, and I just put some on the edge because I just want to get into the middle here. I don't want to do the berries. I was just doing this sort of area in here, kind of going in a circular motion. Sometimes I'm rubbing this way, okay, just trying to get that kind of middle area, okay. And you see the berries, I'm not touching those at all. And of course some of them you're going to have going this way, some of them are going to be going this way, okay. So I've only done the one side on these. And then what you're going to do is you're going to turn them over, your uninked side, and then you're just going to take your stylus tool, your smaller one, and you're just going to start shaping your berries, okay, like so. You could use the smaller tip for the smaller berries, okay. So you'll end up kind of, see how they're starting to get nice and round. Okay. So go ahead and do that to all of your sprigs. Also just remembering, you know, that some are going to go that way and some are going to go this way. Okay. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm continuing to shape my little sprigs, and you can, again, you can use your dowel and you can kind of turn it like so. Maybe give it a turn like this. You can use your smaller dowel to kind of lift them and turn them like so. You know, maybe do every other one and kind of vary it a bit. Okay. So go ahead and shape them, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here are two sides of the vase, and what I've done is I went ahead and folded on the score line as follows. So this is going to be a mountain fold, valley fold here, and all these sides here will be mountain folds. This is a valley fold and a mountain fold, and all these little tabs here are a mountain fold. And you'll be doing the same thing to the other side as well. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so here we have two sides of our vase, one with tabs, one without. And you're going to take this raw edge and line it up with the score line on the tab. Okay, making sure that it's flush at the top and it's lining up with that score line. Okay, and then you're going to hold that down and let that dry. Once it's dry, then you'll go off to the subsequent tabs. Okay, all the while making sure that you are lining up those score lines as you go, making sure that this raw edge here is lined up with that score line. And just do one tab at a time, a little bit of glue, and just continue on that way. Okay, so go ahead and do that to all four sides, assemble them together, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to be adding these two bottom pieces to your vase. I went a bit ahead of myself and I put the top on before putting the bottom piece on. So I would just place this in here. Of course, this will be a lot easier for you without the top there. And just glue that in, like so. And then you'll take the other piece and that will be glued onto the bottom to solidify. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here is a piece for the top of our vase. We have 4 of these, and what you're going to do is you're going to mountain fold along these score lines here. Okay, except for this little score line here, kind of like a little triangle. Just leave those 2 little triangles alone. You won't fold those. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that your little triangle is on the outside. You're going to apply glue here. Make sure to kind of maybe wipe it away with your finger if you've got too much. And then dry your finger. And then you're going to line up that raw edge with that score line. Okay, and then glue that down. Hold it down. Okay. Now, again, be very careful about how much glue you use because foil paper is not forgiving at all. You have to remove that glue really quickly if you see some of it spilling out. If need be, you could use nail polish remover. You could try that with a bit of, a little cotton pad and try to get rid of it, or you could use one of those glue erasers, which I don't have, unfortunately. But yes, those are some of your options there, but best to use very, very little glue. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to, once it's dry, you're just going to wiggle it around a bit because it's going to be a little bit stiff, just so it becomes unwarped, so to speak. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have 2 sides of the top of the vase, and what you're going to do is just going to add a little bit of glue here on this tab, and a little bit of glue on these little triangles here. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to tuck this tab in, lining it up with that raw edge, like so. See? Making sure that's nicely lined up. And then you're going to line up that edge with the triangle score line here. So you're tucking in those triangles, okay, on both sides. All right, so you'll go ahead and do that to all 4 sides. Also remember to make sure that you take that glue off right away. Anything that's spewing out of the cracks or whatever, try to get at it really quickly, okay? Because that foil, again, is not very forgiving. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go for our next step. Okay, so here we have the top of our vase, and this is all dry now, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this piece here, and you're going to mount and fold all those tabs. And then you're going to put glue around the perimeter here, and center this, center it, and you might need to push in some sides, okay, and glue that down. Again, very sparingly with the glue, and if you do get some glue, just quickly wipe it away, okay. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have the pieces for the inner vase, or the inner box, and what you're going to do is with the silver side up, or the right side up, you're going to valley fold, okay, all of your tabs and your score lines, and then you're going to line up this raw edge with that score line, and then glue that down, again making sure that you've got all your tabs towards the bottom, okay, and then you're going to do the other side, okay, in the same way, again with the tabs on the outside, okay. And then once that's dry, you'll take your square bottom and you'll place that inside your box and glue that down. Okay. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I've glued the inner vase, and what I'm doing is I'm just adding a piece to reinforce the bottom. So this was cut out of the 110-pound cardstock. So just go ahead and glue that down, line it up, line up those edges, and just glue that down nicely. Okay, you could even put another piece if you like, if you want extra reinforcement. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I've got the top of my vase and my inner vase box, and I sort of jimmied it on through. It is a snug fit, just be very careful as you're putting it through and making sure that the box is flush with the top of the vase here, okay? And once that's all aligned, what you're going to do is you're going to take a little scrap piece of paper with a bit of glue and come at it from this way, okay, putting some glue on that tab, and just do about maybe about an inch and a half at a time, and just come over, just press down like so, okay, and then you'll go ahead and you'll continue all along, always making sure as you go that you are lined up here, that you are flush with this top, okay, and just do a little bit at a time, let it dry, and then go off to the next. Okay, let's go ahead and do that to all 4 sides, and then we'll go off to the next. Okay, I just finished gluing the top veneer. It's that frame piece. Now, I didn't use glue for that. After trying with the glue, it actually, it's very difficult not to get glue on this foil paper. So what I did is I used this glue tape, this double-sided glue adhesive, and get a good quality one, and just again go along the sides very carefully, and then in through here, and then add maybe a few strips in the middle portion here, and then carefully set your frame down and smooth it all out. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have the top of my vase, and I went ahead and I put it onto the vase body. I just shimmied it over, and what you're going to do is make sure that that lip lines up with that score line on your vase body there. Okay, make sure that it's all the way in. Now I'm not gluing it yet. Then what you're going to do is you're going to be measuring from the bottom of the box to the bottom of the vase. And you'll get that measurement. I just used a little piece of paper here, a little strip, and I just placed it in there, and I just marked off with a pencil what that measurement was. And that I always seem to be getting 1 7/8. Again, you know, you might have something different. There might have been some settlement, but you should get about 1 7/8. Now, then what you're going to do is you're going to cut out some foam. Now, this is 1/4 inch foam, and you'll cut out 1 inch by 1 7/8 blocks. You'll cut out 16 of them, and then you'll glue 4 of them together. Okay, and then so you end up with 4 supports, and you'll take this out, and then you'll glue it with a hot glue gun. Okay, on all 4 corners. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I've got some pieces for the vase, and these are the more detailed pieces. And I just wanted to go over with you how I went about cutting these. Now, of course, my blade is very dull at the moment. I've been cutting out tons and tons of 110-pound cardstock, so it's really, really dull. So I've got my settings at a 9 blade, which is, you know, pretty high, and a 31 pressure force and a 2 speed. And I also have my overcut settings on. Now, yours will vary, of course, but don't always go with what the recommended settings are. Always do a test cut first, see how it's going. If I tend to kind of jump up a blade before putting up so much pressure. So if I'm at a pressure of like 28, I'll just jump up a blade rather than go up to like a 33, for instance. And so, you know, again, like papers can vary wildly, even though it's like they might all be 65-pound, but, you know, some papers are a bit more fibrous than others, so they're a little bit more difficult to cut. So take a look at that too. Also what I do is I tape down my mat. I've got masking tape here. Now my mat, like, I'm trying to show you the stickiness of it. It's not that sticky. And of course I don't want it so sticky that when I go to take this off, it's going to rip up all my fine details. So there's like a bit of a balance there. But this certainly helps because this is going to keep it in place, and I do kind of go over it quite a bit of pressure. You can use one of those rollers to get it to stick down. Okay. And also what I do is I weed out before I start taking these details off, this detailed piece off. So I just start hacking away at it, so to speak. Get out all the little details off, and then I'll go ahead and, you know, attempt to take this off. And again, use your spatula tool to get underneath there. Okay. Be very careful with this though, because you can easily get scratches on this foil paper. But yeah, so yes, go ahead and, you know, check your machine settings, do some test cuts first. So yeah, so there's just a few of the tips for cutting intricate details. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here is one of the sides of my vase with the design on it, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be scoring this at the notches. So there are notches here, 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 and here, and here, and you're just going to line up your ruler with those notches and just go over with your bone folder. Okay, and just score that. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to valley fold here, valley fold there, and valley fold here. Okay, and these little bits here, you're going to be folding those as well, making sure that they've been scored properly, folded properly. And then what you're going to do is you're going to kind of shape it to give it this sort of curve. Now you notice how these little bits are trying to stick up. What you can do is kind of take your finger and kind of mold them a bit, okay, to kind of get them to stick down, and just see how it's going. And then what you can do is you can take, let's say like a roll of paper towel, and just kind of set it on top, and just sort of press down a bit. Just kind of mold it into shape. Okay, just make sure you don't have any glue on your fingers. And you can just sort of hold it down like that. Of course, there might be some little bits that'll stick up. You might be able to just kind of glue those down on the vellum, but it's best to get as many pieces as you can to kind of stay in shape. Okay, so go ahead and do that to all 4 sides, then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I've cut out my piece of vellum, and what you're going to do is you're going to score where those 2 notches are. You're just going to line up your ruler with those 2 notches, and then you'll just take your scoring tool and just run a line there, and then you'll fold it carefully, Okay, now it may end up a bit too folded, which is not what you want. So just after you've done that, just lay it back on the table like so. Okay, so it's a bit like that. Okay, so go ahead and do that to all 4 of your vellum pieces, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I've adhered the vellum to the vase body, and what I did is I first started out, I did use glue before, but I'm finding the glue tape much better for attaching the vellum. So what I did is I just went across like this, and then I did another strip across here, and I just smoothed it down here and then smoothed it down. I left the sides open. You could maybe put a little bit on the sides if you like, but I found this worked much better than the glue, because the glue really tends to buckle. You have to use it very, very sparingly with the vellum. So yeah, so go ahead and do that. This is a, I'm not sure if this is the best quality glue tape, but again, find yourself a really good quality one and use that. Okay, so here I've glued the veneer to the vase. Of course, the vellum is already on. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your foil piece, making sure that it's lined up with the score line, the body of your vase here, that this edge is lined up and your edges here are all lined up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take some glue, do like kind of a little bit of a zigzag, and then come in with a scrap piece of paper and just smooth that out, and then hold that down, just this area here, okay? And just hold that down, let it dry. Once that's dry, you're gonna lift it up here. You see where that score line is? You're just gonna fold it over like that, and then add some glue in this area on the body of your vase. And again, doing the same thing, smooth that glue out, come in and hold it down and let that dry, okay? Also be very aware if you have some foil here, you don't want to get any glue on that foil. So just make sure not to end up with a bit of glue, and it's quite easy to do it, so just be careful. And then what you're going to do is you're not going to bother gluing this side here, unless of course it's really sticking out, but just leave that alone. And then you're going to, of course, line this up, making sure that this is lined up with that score line or with the bottom, okay, here, and do the same thing. Add your zigzag of glue, smooth it down, and then rub it down to get it to adhere, okay? And then what you can do, if you're finding that you're having some little pieces that are sort of still sticking up, you can come in with a toothpick and add a very sparing amount of glue underneath, just a little bit there, and then just hold that down. You can come in from inside and just sort of glue that down. If you're finding areas, I mean, I wouldn't glue the entire thing, just areas that are really sticking up. Okay, so go off and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. So here I have my corner piece, and what I've done is I'm just going along and I'm folding in that junction between the stalk and the leaf. So I'm just going across and I'm just folding these leaves down on both sides. So I did all these ones, all of these ones, and I left this one at the tip alone. And then what you're going to do is you're going to heat up some of your hot glue, and you're going to be lining this up like this here, okay? So starting roughly around where the score line is, and then you're just going to work your way up. Now you're not going to go directly with your hot glue gun. You're going to take your toothpick and you're going to put a little bit of hot glue on the tip here, very tiny little bit of glue, and you're just going to put it in that crevice, hold it down, and then every couple of inches do the same. So you don't have to put a whole bead of glue down the side here. It'll be quite messy. And I definitely recommend using the hot glue, because the white glue or the Scotch Quick Dry, it'll be too difficult actually to try to glue it down with that. So definitely use the hot glue for that. Okay, so go off and do that to all 4 sides, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm just putting the top of my vase onto the vase body. So what you're going to do is add some glue up at the top here of your vase, and then you're going to slip it on over and line up, that lip should line up with this score line, or on the edge of your foil here, and just hold that down and let it dry. So again, you don't want to use too much glue, because of course it can start seeping out here and then you're going to mess up your foil. So just be very, very careful about that. Okay, so here I have the piece, one of the pieces for my vase insert. And so what you're going to do is you can take your 3/8 dowel, or you could take a pencil and just establish that curve like so. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that this raw edge is lined up against that score line, and you're going to glue that down. Again, you could use your pencil or your dowel as leverage to glue it down. Just make sure that that score line is lined up against that raw edge. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. So here I have the pieces for my vase insert. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold along all of the score lines. You'll be doing mountain folds. And then you're going to line up the score line with the raw edge here. Just glue that down. You're just basically be closing these sides here. Okay, just glue all of those down. Now leave the one side open for now, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so I've glued down all 3 sides of my vase insert, and then I took my cylinder and I jimmied it on through the top and then through to the bottom. See, as you can see here. Now before I did that, I sort of squeezed the ends just to fit it through the hole. It is a snug fit. Just take your time with it. And then you'll fold down those tabs along the score line and glue the both of them down like so. And then you'll finally glue down that side. And then you'll take your larger square and you'll put that on what will be the bottom to solidify. Okay, so you'll still have it like this. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. So here I have my topiary box insert. I'm just adding my green topper just to finish it all off. So you'll just position it, making sure that it aligns on the side and in the middle, and then just glue that down. Okay, let's go off and do that, and we'll go off for next. Here I have all the pieces for my poinsettia. And so what you're going to have is you're going to have 2 large, 1 medium, 1 small, and then you'll have one of these and a smaller one of those. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take some pigment ink. Here I've got a color box. This is sort of like a rhubarb color, a few shades darker than my cardstock paper. This one's quite dry, so what I did is I went ahead and just used it directly on the leaves, so on the petals, and just went along like so. Okay, kind of like a 45-degree angle, and then I went down the other side like so. But if yours is a bit wetter, maybe you might want to use a dauber like so, and just place this on top and just put a little bit on the edge here and just go along the edge. Okay, very, very, very lightly because this is quite dark. Or what you could do alternatively is just take an old pencil like I've done here and then just put this on top and then wrap it around with an elastic band. This way you have more control. It's a smaller surface, so this might be a little handy for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and do that to all of your petals, ink them all, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I just want to demonstrate a little bit more about how I went ahead and inked these petals. Now you could go ahead and go like so, which is what I did. I just find it faster. But what you could do, you have a little bit more control, is just load up your dauber, bounce a little bit off, and then just go like so in a circular motion along the edge. Okay, like so. Okay, see, you'll end up with something like that. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I have one of the large petals for the poinsettia, and what I'm doing is I'm just going to do the veining. So I have this old mouse pad, which are really great to use and get these anywhere, Dollarama or whatever. And this is a ball tool that I have. The smallest one, it's about 1/16. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to run a line down the center of your petal, like so. Okay, putting a little bit of pressure, and then you're just going to go in like this. Okay, just kind of the sweeping motion. I'm kind of going up and then over, and then kind of up and over, like that. Okay, and then you'll do the other side in a similar fashion until you have something like this. Okay, you can see on the other side how much pressure I've put on there. Okay, and then with these ones, the small one and the larger one, you're just going to do one line down the middle. Okay, so go ahead and do that to all of your petals, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm just in the midst of shaping one of the larger poinsettias. I finished veining, and now I'm just sort of pinching the tips and kind of folding down the middle here. Okay, like so. Kind of give it a little pinch here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your 3/8 dowel and you're going to give it a turn here, give it a curl. Just kind of go like so. Roll it over. Okay. And then you're going to take your 1/8 dowel, or again, something similar, and you're just going to fold it over. You don't want a harsh fold, just like a curve here, like that. And then you can take this and you can also, curl the tips like so. You could do it the other way as well. And you can go along the edges here and just give these little edges a little turn like that, either away from you or towards you. Okay. And do that to all of these types of leaves, these petals. With the smaller one, you could probably use this to curl it, use a 3/8 to curl it, and then you could use maybe a toothpick to do these little spiky bits here. You could kind of use that tool to do that. Right, like so. See, I'm kind of turning these little spikes over. Okay, and then with these ones, you're just folding. Okay, you're just folding along that center vein and then kind of pinching these little tips here. And we'll do some more shaping to these a little bit later. Okay, so go ahead and do that to all your petals, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm doing some more shaping to my petals. So I'm taking my larger ball tool, and I'm just going in on the thicker part of my mouse pad, or you could put like a sponge or another layer of something, like a foam, and just go ahead and you're just gonna press down here. You might want to use the other side and just kind of go like so. You can see the whole table shaking here. So I'm actually pressing quite hard. So you can see kind of lifts those petals up when I do that. And you'll do the same thing to the small one and the medium one. Okay, so go ahead and do that and we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm getting ready to glue my petal layers together. So here I have my 2 large, and what you're going to do is you can use like a toothpick or a piece of wire with a curled bottom here, and you could just run this through and just put a bit of glue in the center area here, and then just plop this down on top and just sort of offset it like so, and then just sort of press down, hold it into place. All right, hold it down. Let that set, and then on the thicker part of your mouse pad, or something with like a sponge or whatever, another piece of foam, just use your ball tool and again press down and put quite a bit of pressure and turn, and at the same time kind of fluff these petals up. Okay, you really want to keep these fluffy. Okay, so I'm just kind of moving these petals up like so, and kind of giving it a turn, see? And then what you'll do is you'll end up kind of something like this. So you're going to add your medium petals here, and then your small one. Okay, again, centering it using your toothpick or your wire, and just fluff them up, because this may be your last chance. Once you put the center in, it gets a little bit more difficult to get these to kind of fluff up. Okay, so between each layer, make sure between each one that you're going ahead and doing this to the center and then going off to the next one. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so here I'm inking my stamen. I'm using the dark green. This is from Color Box. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take your dauber, and load it up and just go in a circular motion along kind of the bottom here, okay? Like so, all right? And then you're going to take your light green, this is from Color Box as well, and you're going to go further up the stamen, okay, in a circular motion, like so. And you'll do that to both sides, okay? So go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have my stamen, and what I'm doing is I'm adding light green to the bud tips here. So I'm just going in and doing a bit of this every other one though, okay? I'm doing every other one, like so. Here I want it a bit dark, so watch how much you have on there. And then on the other side, you're just gonna hit the other side of the one that you hit in the front, okay? So I'll be hitting this one with my ink. Probably have to load it up again. And then what you'll do is you'll take your dark raspberry, like we were using before, and you'll put that on the tips here. So you'll just go in on the other tips, like so. Okay. Every other one, the ones that you don't have green on. Okay, and you'll do the same thing on the other side. So the ones you hit with red on this side, you'll hit them on this side. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm just shaping the little buds here, and I'm taking my stylus, this end here, and I'm going in, and I'm just shaping it. I've got my mouse pad out, and I'm going on every other one, okay? And then I'm going to turn it over, and the ones that I didn't do on the front, I'm going to do here. Okay, so you'll just continue along like that. So you're going to have them one going that way and one going this way. Okay, so go ahead and do that to all of them, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so next we're going to be taking a toothpick, and we're going to be rolling, just get it anchored, and you're just going to roll it around here, making sure that your edges are lining up as you go along, you see? And you'll continue all the way to the end until you end up with something like this, and then you'll just put a bit of glue here and close it up. And then what you can do is just sort of fluff it up a bit with your fingers, and go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so the center is closed up and dry, and I kind of fluff them up a little bit, sort of shape it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your smaller petal piece and just put a bit of dab of glue in the middle and just hold that down and let that dry completely, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to put, with a toothpick, you're going to be putting a little bit of glue on this stem here and this stem here. I think this is the easiest way to go about it, and you're just going to be pinching it like this, okay? And then let that dry, and then you'll go in with the little stems, gluing these little stems and closing them up here like so, and pinching them closed. So you'll end up with something like this, okay? And so once it's dry, you see it's like so, you're going to turn it. Again, you could use your dowel, okay, to give it a bit of a turn and open them right up, okay, like so, to all 5 petals. So go ahead and do that to all of your centers, and then we'll go off to the next step. Okay, so now that this is dry, I'm going to go ahead and just add a bit of glue here in the center of this larger one of those, and I'm going to offset it like so, okay? And then you're going to let that dry completely, and then as we were doing before, you're going to be adding glue to these little stems here and closing it up, and that'll hide this green here, okay? Those stems will hide the little green bits here, and then you'll end up with something like this, okay? I still haven't glued everything down, but you'll end up with something like this. And again, I used my dowel once it was completely dry at the bottom here. You're going to turn these like so, okay? go ahead and do that and to all of your centers, and then we'll go off to the next step. So here is the poinsettia that goes onto the base of the topiary. So it's missing its center here, okay? And what you're going to do is you're just going to cut with your X-Acto blade across in the middle, okay? Big enough so that you'll be able to fit your topiary dowel through it. And this, of course, will go right up through onto the base of your topiary, and you'll just hot glue that onto the base. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have my replacement for a florist styrofoam ball or a florist ball. This one is made out of newsprint, but again, you can use a florist ball approximately 5 inches in diameter. But with this, what I did is I started off scrunching up a bit of newsprint, and then I just continually wrapped it and started to roll it to get it into shape until I had a ball like so. And this one's about 17 inches in circumference. So once I had it to the shape I wanted it, then I used some packing tape here, and I just wrapped it a little bit, and then I wrapped it with some masking green painter's tape, okay? Or you could just wrap it with regular masking tape and then paint it green. You could do that as well. But again, you can also use a florist foam ball and skip this step altogether. And then what you're going to do is you're going to use your X-Acto blade and just try to work a hole in your ball about 3.5 inches deep. Okay. And so once you've completed that, then you can go ahead and you can paint your dowel. This dowel is about 3/8 of an inch in diameter. And you can paint it the same color green as the base color of your leaves. So just make sure that you paint it and let it dry, and then you can just insert it into your styrofoam ball like so. Add a bit of, before you do that, obviously add a little bit of glue from your glue gun just to secure it in place. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. So here I've got my ivy, and what I did is I, of course, went over it with the Teal Zeal Memento pigment ink, again using my dauber. And what I did is I kind of got ink on the sides here, took a little bit off, and then kind of went on this side like so, okay? And then I went back, I turned it around, and I went back the other way just to get it on the tips. And I did it on both sides. And I also did the middle branch here too, along with these little stems as well. Just kind of a little bit in a circular motion, like so. And then what I did is I took my stylus and I just did a bit of embossing here, going up like so, like so, like so, like so. And then I took my, this is a creamy yellow pencil. It's a Prismacolor Deco Yellow. And just went across with the veining here, okay, over a bit of what I embossed. I didn't emboss the little tiny little veins. I just did the main veins down the middle here, and then these little ones I'm going in with my pencil. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I'm shaping my ivy leaves, and what I'm doing is, first of all, I just sort of fold it along that line that we embossed before down the middle here. Okay, and then I sort of, sometimes I pinch the little ends here, like so. You see, I'm just sort of pinching them like that. And what you can do is you can take, this is like a 1/8 dowel or something like that. No, barbecue skewer or something. Bamboo stick. And just go and do little turns. See, like that, maybe. Or you can kind of fold it and then turn it over like this. See, like that. All right. And then you can take your toothpick and you can kind of, you know, maybe you can curl this little end here this way. Maybe do the other one that way. Okay. So sort of just play around with it. Make them all a little bit different. Okay. Just continue. So do that to all of them. And then what you'll do is you'll take your 3/8 dowel, and you can maybe tape the bottom with some painter's tape if you like. But basically what we're going to do is we're just going to train this around this dowel here, just to get it prepped before we actually put it on our project. Okay, so you'll just wrap it around, get it to the point where you like it. I think it's about this much between the base of your topiary and the bottom of your topiary ball. Okay, so it's about that much. So you're going to want to kind of wrap it in such a way that it's all kind of clustered in this area here. Okay, and once you're happy with that, then what you'll do is you'll put it on your project, you'll hot glue it at the bottom, and maybe tack it in a few areas, maybe 2 or 3 areas, just so it sort of holds it into place. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Okay, so here I have my topiary, and it's covered with all the foliage. And what I did initially is I put a poinsettia at the top here, as you can see, and I centered it on the top, glued that down, again using my glue gun. And then I took 5 poinsettias and I divvied them up evenly around the circumference. So how I did that is I took the measurement of the circumference, I divided by 5, and then I made a mark with a Sharpie, okay, going all the way around. And I centered my poinsettia on that Sharpie mark. And then what I did is I took a poinsettia leaf with the stem going towards the center top, and I tucked it in here, in between the two, roughly in between the 2 poinsettias here. And again, doing that all the way around. And then I tucked in some leaves, some poinsettia leaves, here and here. Okay, you can see one's over here, another one over here. Then I took another poinsettia leaf with the stem again going towards the top center, and tucked it behind here. Okay, so the idea is you just want to cover up that green from the florist ball as best you can. And then what I did is I took the poinsettia that has no center, I placed that over my dowel, as we were talking about before, and just glued that down here. Okay, just brought it up and glued it here. Okay, and then I took my sprigs and I glued them. I glued the stems together in kind of a crisscross. Okay, so they're kind of going out like that a bit. And then I sort of turned the stems and I put glue on the top of the stem, and I roughly placed it about 2 inches down. You see the 2 yellow centers here? I kind of measured down about 2 inches and then put it in the center. Glued it down into the center here. Okay. And then what I did is I had all of my holly, and I basically did a little loop and wrapped it around the dowel here. Okay. So I've got about 5 of them. So one kind of in each corner, and then another one here. And just be very careful of your ivy when you're doing that. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll go off to our next step. Well, we have finally finished our project, and I hope you're as pleased with it as I am. I can't wait to see your completed topiary. Please send me your pictures so I can post them on our upcoming Crafters Gallery. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you'd like to see more, don't forget to subscribe and visit my website at www.decouverts.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and Merry Christmas!